What's
What's going
happening?
on? What's going on? How are you? Are you ready for week one?
Let's go. Let's go. I've been getting a lot of bets in. I've been trying to find every single promo code in the state of Kansas from multiple sports books. I'm ready, Verderame. I know that this has felt like I did the math. I was writing a preview a little bit earlier today. I think it's been 206 or 207 days since the Super Bowl to now, and it's actually here. We have football. Add in another 4 days until you get to Sunday, and then we have 210 days until last year's season to the start of this season for the Chiefs. I cannot wait.
It's awesome. We got a great game Thursday night. Then we got the Chiefs and the Cardinals in the late window of the afternoon. By the way, the late window on Sunday is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Packers, Vikings, Raiders, Chargers, Chiefs, Cardinals, and then you followed up on Sunday night with the Bucks and the Cowboys. It's insane.
I love it. And you're going to see a lot of folks have ties to plenty of those games, especially if you're doing a couple of teasers. Parlays are going to be big. Verderame, the Cowboys and the Packers are the top two public teams that are bet, all throughout the year, and they ended up finishing with the best record in the league against the spread last year. I can almost assure you that won't be the case this year, and I bet you that sports books are begging people to probably just go ahead, lay some more money on the Cowboys, lay it on the Packers. Go ahead, because those lines are going to be very inflated, especially if they get off to a good start early on.
Are you surprised the Cowboys are dogs at home against Tampa?
No, because no. I don't think so, because I think the consensus right now on Dallas is that they're no longer the favorites in that division. They were at the start of the offseason, and then the Eagles, after the NFL draft, did really well there. Make the acquisition for A.J. Brown, started to creep up a little bit. Now you're hearing, okay, maybe Philadelphia is maybe they're a wild card team again. Maybe they make it competitive with Dallas. And within the last week or so, they're now the consensus favorites over at FanDuel, plus 130 to win the NFC East. They're the team now. And whether you think Dallas is going to be able to get by or not, whether you think the loss of Tyron Smith is going to be impactful, it's going to be between those two teams. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not counting on the Commanders to make it interesting.
No, I wouldn't.
You and I feel a little differently about the Giants. I think they'll be serviceable, but they're not going to be a winning team. Those are the top two dogs in that division, and they have a very easy schedule throughout most of the season.
No, it's true. I think that is definitely the case. You have those two teams that'll fight it out. I think the Eagles have a much better roster. I think the Cowboys have a much better proven quarterback. And so I'm kind of
We lose Verderame for a second. Looks like you might be a little bit frozen in time. All right, so I'll keep things going. And by the way, as we wait to get Verderame back, feel free to send in plenty of your questions. There you go. We got him back.
I'm back. I'm here.
All right. Yeah.
And after this, I'm going to be at Xfinity, and somebody's going to have a really bad day. Yeah. No, I think that division is going to be a two-team race, and I love Philly's roster. I think the Cowboys have much better quarterback, so I'm torn. But I'm less torn on the Chiefs and the Cardinals this weekend.
I figured you'd say that. And as far as that game is concerned, it's been kind of a wild last few days. This game opened up at 3, immediately got bet up to 3.5. And that's where it's sat for the majority of the week. So for anybody that's going to be, getting on their phones, getting ready to place a bet, the line has drastically shifted since then. It is no longer at 3.5. In fact, it moved to 4.5 yesterday. It is no longer at 4.5 for Verderame. The line right now at FanDuel for the Chiefs on the road against the Arizona Cardinals is at -5.5. Some books, it's already moved up to 6. Now, I haven't seen anything drastic that would indicate some major injury news coming out of Arizona. I'm very surprised that even though Kansas City is a better team than Arizona, that there would be this much of a move. So from the NFL Insider perspective, have you heard anything that would indicate as to maybe somebody from Arizona being out, or maybe there's an injury that's not being discussed? Because that's a fairly drastic move, going from 3.5 points as a favorite to as much as 6 points as a favorite without a major injury getting in the way.
Well, Zach Ertz is being talked about as a game day decision. Trayvon Mullen is apparently a game day decision. I don't know that should move the line that much.
No,
I mean, Marcus
it's been
Golden,
massive fun for a long time.
but I mean, it's like, no, I'm with you. You know better than me. Like, is the money just absolutely coming in on Kansas City to the point that they just keep moving the line up? Like, is that the reason?
Yes, there's been sizable money coming in so far on the Chiefs. But again, not to the point where even if the handle for Kansas City at a lot of these sports books is massive, in the sports books are come to the realization that unless they're just getting massive bet after massive bet after massive bet, like plenty of sharp money coming in that says, "Oh man, we were totally wrong about this line for Kansas City." Like my indication is that has not been the case. They've gotten plenty of money. It is lopsided in favor of Kansas City, and it makes sense, right? People remember the Cardinals finding a way to collapse yet again down the stretch of the season last year. Cliff Kingsbury has been notoriously bad down the stretch. But what's surprising to me is he's been very good in the first half of the year. Andy Reid, 16-8 straight up in week 1 games over the course of his career. He's 8-1 since arriving in Kansas City. But Cliff Kingsbury, if you're going to give him credit for something, give him credit for the fact that in week 1, the Arizona Cardinals come out and win games. They're 3-0 since he arrived, since starting Kyler Murray together. So you have two coaches that have been very successful in the first week of the season going up against each other. But Vegas is basically telling you that it's not going to last this week. It's not going to last for Arizona going up against a very formidable opponent at home.
I think Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury in that offseason has been a big reason why this line is moving. And I just think who right now, how many people can you find that are like, I think it's going to be really good this year? The Cardinals. Like very few people. By the way, Mike in Sweden, thank you for the super chat. For especially the donation for me to buy better internet. I can't express to you guys what an ungodly pain in the ass this has been. I'm working off a brand new computer today, and yet
that's spectacular timing. Like sometimes you just can't draw it up any better. Like Verderame about to go on a rant about how his internet has just been awful. And now, the moment the rant starts to begin, it's when everything just goes completely on the fritz. I mean, Verderame, you can't time up anything better.
We're gonna do this every 5 minutes because it just doesn't work.
I'll be here.
It just doesn't work. I just don't understand what the fuck is happening. I just don't get it. Like, pay a lot of money for the internet service here, and it just dies every fucking 5 minutes, and it doesn't do it.
Have you done the famous, take it out of the plug, like the South Park episode where you take it out of the plug, wait a couple minutes, plug it back in?
It is the biggest piece of shit. If you do not need Xfinity or Comcast, for the love of God, don't get it. My problem is there's no other competitor around here. It is a disaster, an absolute disaster for product. Like I mean, my modem is literally 3 feet away from me right now. Brand new computer. Paying for a service that is way more money than it should be, and the fucking thing doesn't work at any point. The second we're done with this stream, I'm driving over to Xfinity, and somebody's gonna have a very bad afternoon.
Yeah, a lot of folks weighing in on the chat that you're getting roasted. This is not your fault, but some of the comments are great.
Oh no, they should roast me. It's fine. I mean, it may not be my fault, but it still is a problem. The funny thing is, it happens at no other time than when I'm streaming. That's the only time it drops. That's it.
Yeah.
It's a train wreck. Somebody's going to get screamed at in about 20 minutes.
All right. Well, I look forward to hearing the follow-up story on this Tuesday's episode of Stack in the Box. We'll follow up with this over here on Arrowhead Addict as well. But as far as while I have you here,
yes,
until the internet caps out again. All right. So we talked about the move. Opened up at 3, moved up to 5.5. Talked about the possible reasons behind that move. I want to talk to you about the actual trends for this game heading into week 1. And I think a lot of people are curious to know, okay, how good were the Chiefs? How good were the Cardinals when it comes to covering the spread? How were they in overs and unders last year? So I pulled the numbers. Here's what I have for you. So the Kansas City Chiefs were 8-9 against the spread last year. And that might surprise some of you that are new to the betting space, considering how good their record was. But yes, they were a game under 500 in covering the spread in the regular season. In fact, they started the year 0-3 against the spread. and they were just 2-7 against the spread in their first 9 games. Second half of the year, completely different story. Ended up going 6-2 against the spread in the final 8 games. The Cardinals, very much the opposite. Again, makes sense based on everything we've known and what we've seen from Cliff Kingsbury in his 3 years there. They are 10-7 last year against the spread, but they started 6-1. They ended up losing 4 of their last 5 games against the spread in those final 5 games. Now, in overs, Kansas City, 10-7. Makes sense. You have Mahomes, you had Kelsey, you had Tyreek Hill. You have one of the most formidable offenses in the country. There were sportsbooks that couldn't go high enough, and the Chiefs still decided to go over it. And in fact, first 5 games of the season last year, they went 4-1 in overs. Now the Cardinals, they were 8-9 in overs. So that was about 47%. Unders ended up going 5-3 to start 2021. So you kind of have some conflicting trends here. Chiefs were 6-1 against the spread to start the season. You had Arizona 6-1 to start the season against the spread last year versus Kansas City that was 0-3 and 2-7. Do you now look at that number at 6 a little bit differently? I don't think it's fair to, because there's roster turnover and there's different players. But I do wonder about Kansas City, especially early on in the season, to be able to still cover that line when Arizona has shown consistently that they're going to hang around in the first half of the season.
I would bet the Chiefs in this game if the line was 10. That's how I feel. I don't think the Cardinals are good.
Blowout from the get-go is how you see this.
I picked the score as 35-24. I just don't think the Cardinals are good. How are they stopping the Chiefs in this game? What are they doing? And if the answer is that they have to blitz, they're dead. They're dead on arrival. Right. So, what are they doing in this game? Even if Watt and Golden play, and both of them didn't practice yesterday, even if they play, Chandler Jones isn't there. Who on that defense scares you? Budda Baker's a great player. That is it. That is it. And Golden's a nice player. But, look, I get why the line's moving, because I don't think the Cardinals are a good team. Now, last year you could say, well, they were 7-0. Okay, they were god-awful down the stretch. Got blown out in the playoffs. And, oh, by the way, that coincided with DeAndre Hopkins not being there. Well, guess who's not there?
That's right.
DeAndre Hopkins. Look, I could see this being one of these games where it's tight early, and then it's just 21 straight points, and that's the end of it.
I think you're going to see a different type of approach with Arizona. And I think it's the approach that a lot of teams tried to take against Kansas City when they were struggling to cover in a lot of these games. And that's run the ball on them. Now, you can certainly make the argument that having Chris Jones back makes an enormous difference as far as their line is concerned. But Cardinals were a very effective run team a season ago. James Conner was one of the touchdown leaders in rushing. Their offensive line isn't fantastic, but it's serviceable. I think from that perspective, their goal is going to be, we have explosive playmakers on this offense, but we also know we can run the ball. And if we're on the field for an extended period of time, this Chiefs defense is beatable, and then we can wait for the right play to be able to strike.
Yeah. I think, again, I heard most of that while Comcast decided to steal some more money. My problem with Arizona is they're not better than Kansas City in any phase of the game, in my opinion. They're not better than them literally anywhere. Also in this game, what do the Cardinals do, or what position group do they have that is top 5 in the NFL? I mean, do they have none? None. They literally don't have one thing where it's okay, this is where they're going to be able to take advantage.
If Hopkins was back, maybe you make an argument that with their wide receiver group.
Right, I'd hear that.
It's close, but it's not definitive by any stretch of the imagination.
But without him, it's average. Without him, it's average. Murray's above average, but he's not a top 5 quarterback. I don't even think he's a top 10 quarterback. Their offensive line's average. Defensively, they're hideous. I look at the Cardinals, and the other part of this too is it's not like they have some great home field advantage. I mean, half that place is going to be fans, from Kansas City. So, could the Chiefs lose to them? Yeah, but it would take the Chiefs playing a pretty poor game, in my opinion. I don't think Kansas City is going down there and playing a B+ game and losing. I'd be pretty surprised.
So you mentioned the inability to have an actual home field advantage, and you're right. The numbers for Arizona, in particular with Kyler Murray, he was much better on the road last year than he was at home. He only had 9 passing touchdowns and 7 interceptions in State Farm Stadium a season ago.
That's crazy.
Which is
I would not
fairly
doubt that.
remarkable, given everything about that stadium should be an advantage for him. It's turf, it's fast. You got speed on the outside with Hopkins. Isabella, you can move him around in the middle of the field. They have some versatile guys. Rondale Moore is another guy that I'd be a little bit concerned about for the Chiefs to be able to stop if they use him effectively. That's another guy with breakaway speed. And it's going to be improved. Like, I know that Allen's weighing in that Bolton Gay shut down any attempt at an Arizona running game. I hope you're right. But I do think somebody like Connor is good enough to be able to extend some drives if it's 3rd and short. He's very effective in that part of the game. He can also catch passes. They also don't have Chase Edmonds anymore. And that was another versatile part of what they wanted to do in the running game as well. So they're going to be a little bit more committed, I think, between the trenches. It's a fun game. And I kind of think that can lead into some plays that I want to ask you about. I'm calling it proper stop. I'm sort of taking 3 different plays, 3 different prop bets from this game that I found over at FanDuel. And for anybody that's watching, you can find all these. They're available. I just checked the odds. All of them are still available to go. You can go to FanDuel for that. Also, I know that Arrowhead Addict has a ton of different promo codes that you can check out. Right now, they're doing a bet $5 to win $150 back. I think you just have to make a small deposit, $5, $10. So you already get to start your Chiefs season on a nice note that way. And they're also doing a game where they've moved. Basically, it's like if one team scores a point tonight, you get even money up to $50. So a lot of good promos right now available. You can find all those at Arrowhead Addict. So first prop that I have is the over in the first quarter. I love first quarter props, Verderame, because I think it's a market that can easily be exploited. I might have talked to you about this last week, where so many times everything is about what the likely final number will be. So in this case, you have a total of 53.5, but the first half totals is 27. But the first quarter, you would think, okay, well, if it's 27, maybe it's like 13 or 13.5. First quarter total is 10.5. Now, that might think, okay, you got to get a touchdown and then a field goal plus another half a point. But in looking at these teams' numbers over the course of the first quarter last year, these are two of the best first quarter scoring teams in the NFL a season ago. You had Kansas City ranked 2nd. Actually, they were tied for 1st with Dallas in the most points in the first quarter per game. Arizona was 6th. This is 2 teams that are going to have good scripted plays coming out to start the season, likely to march down the field. You hope that for Kansas City's sake that they can make a couple crucial 3rd down stops. But I love the over here. I love it because these are 2 teams that have shown consistently that they are going to score on you in the first quarter. So that's one of my 3 favorite props for this game, the over 10.5 in the first quarter. And you can get it at plus odds too. Bet $110 or bet $100 to win 110. You can move that down if you want to bet like $10. You can go and win 11 back. So I think that's one of my favorites on the board for today.
I take that. I'm with you. I think either because it'll be 7-7 or the Chiefs will just be up 14-0. So yeah. I also think too it's a game where if you're Arizona and it's 4th and 2 at the 20, like you're going for it. You're not kicking a field goal, right? I mean, that's suicide. So yeah, I'm with you on that, on the over. I like that.
Okay. So that's prop number 1. Prop number 2 in proper stop. Chiefs are minus 3.5 for the first half. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, you kind of blew it here, Ben. Like they were 3.5, a week or so ago to win the game. You could have gotten this number before it crossed the line of -3. And yes, you're right. But if we're looking at it from a perspective of right now, looking at second quarter numbers for Kansas City as well as first half numbers, definitively better than Arizona by pretty much a wide margin. Second quarter points from a season ago, Kansas City on the road, 6.8 points per quarter. You had Arizona at home. At home, 6.3. That ranked 18th in the NFL. Kansas City was in the top 7. So now you have 2 teams that in the first quarter were pretty much neck and neck with each other. Top number 1 in the NFL, top 6 in the NFL. Now you have a fairly large discrepancy in second quarter scoring. So now if you're expecting the Chiefs to be up 10-3 in the first quarter, 14-0 like you joked about before, maybe it's even 7-7. They're more likely to pull away. And I think even with that hook at -3.5, based on what we know about Kansas City, especially their ability in 2-minute drills, they're so good, Verderame, in the 2-minute drill. They're always going to get points at the end of the half. That I love this number, even though it passed by 3.5. Normally, I would recommend staying away, especially if you got on it late. But in the direction that this game is going, 3.5 points in the first half, not an indication for me that that's going to scare me away. As Verderame's internet froze again. Did you get any part of that, Verderame? Chiefs first half minus.
I got pretty much all of it before, again, Comcast came in here and hit me over the head with a hammer and stole another $10.
Yeah.
I'll never get back. Well, if I'm picking the Chiefs to win the game by 11 points, then it stands to reason. I actually, though, would stay away from it only because it's a gut feeling. I think it's going to be a close game early. And then I think it'll be one of these games where it's like, I think it could be like 14-14. You'll go, here comes a shootout. And then it's like 17-14 at half. And then the Chiefs just come out and it's like touchdown, punt, touchdown. It's 31-14. Game's over. Yeah. But if I had to go one way or the other, I would take the bet. But I probably would stay away from it based off how I think the game's going to go.
Perfectly reasonable. And they've had some moments too where they've had some letdowns in 2-minute drills on the defensive side. So you could be looking at it and it could be 20-10. You're thinking that you're sitting fairly comfortably. And then all of a sudden the Cardinals get a late touchdown with 35 seconds left to go on the clock. Chiefs decide to just go ahead and take a kneel. They feel good about it. Always in play. And again, the 3.5 is the part that concerns me a little bit. But given the way that this line is moving, I still think it's an opportunity for value given the discrepancy between those numbers in the first half. Final prop that I have, like a little bit of anytime touchdowns. Those are always fun. Again, it's a bit of a dice roll a little bit, but James Conner is going to get the bulk of the carries anytime Arizona is inside the 5. One of the leaders in the NFL and inside the 5 carries, that's where you get the bulk of your rushing touchdowns from. He's somebody that they trust, rely, was one of the league leaders, as I mentioned, in touchdowns from a season ago. You can get him basically for just under even money, -105 for an anytime touchdown. That's the way that you can go inside on Kansas City. You can beat them occasionally through the air, but I do think Arizona, like I said, will commit to more of a running game to try and keep Kansas City off the field. And it's been successful for them, especially last year. So James Conner anytime touchdown is my third favorite prop for this game.
For me, I think it's the best one you've laid out of the 3. Yeah, I would take, because look, he had how many? He had 17 touchdowns last year, 18 touchdowns last year.
18 total touchdowns in 2020.
Like, they're just going to give him the ball ad nauseum in this game, you would think, especially with Edmonds now gone. Like, they're just going to hand him the ball. So, yeah, I think that's a good bet. I think even if it's one of these things where it's like early and he scores like early in the game and then they kind of have to throw the ball more. Yeah, I think he's a very good bet here to score. I also think Kyler Murray is a good bet to run one in at some point if that's need be. But I like the bet with Conner.
Yeah, I don't mind the Murray play, but again, his rushing numbers were substantially better on the road compared to at home. And again, I can't tell you why. Maybe there's some positive regression to the mean. He still had some great rushing totals at home. It just didn't really add up for him. So yeah, I think it makes sense. I think Murray right now for an anytime touchdown in this game over at FanDuel, somewhere along the lines of maybe +180. I'm pulling up the numbers right now. Yeah, last time I checked, it's around +180 for Kyler Murray. That's fine. I mean, if you're looking on it for Pat Mahomes in this game as well, he comes in at I think +280 to score an anytime touchdown. That's a number that I'm also certainly intrigued by, given that we're not really sure who's going to be the goal line back. Like, if you were trying to figure out, okay, the Chiefs are going to get a rushing touchdown in this game, are you going to trust Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Are you going to give Pacheco an opportunity to run it in? Like, who are you trusting right now to go out and get maybe McKinnon out of the backfield on some sort of a toss play? Like, who are you looking at as far as possibilities go for a rushing touchdown in this game from the Kansas City side?
Oh, I wouldn't even bet on it. I wouldn't do it. But if I had to, CEH, because I think he's going to get the most carries.
Yeah. CEH for scoring a touchdown in this game, +130. If you want to go down a little bit further, Isaiah Pacheco was +360. Sky Moore, maybe there's an end around to him. He's plus 430. Darrell Williams still hanging around at plus 500, and Pat Mahomes is at plus 280. So, by the way, you can take all these different props, you can put them together in a same game parlay. And I actually moved that line for Kansas City instead of -3.5. I just bet them -2.5 to win the second quarter. So it's a three-way parlay. You can get it right now at plus 643 odds over at FanDuel. It's a $25 bet, would win you $160.95. I'm going to take the Chiefs, or I'm going to take the over in the first quarter at 10.5. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win the second quarter, cover by 2.5 points. And I like a James Conner anytime touchdown. If those three hit, you're looking at a nice little payout at just under plus 650 on the board for week one. But before we get out of here, Verderame, I know that this is a game that you think Kansas City should have in hand fairly easily. What would be your best bet for this game?
Probably just, the money line. But if I went beyond the money line, I think they're going to cover. I do. I think they're going to cover the spread.
There's no number that's too high for you.
Not that it's going to reach. No.
Yeah.
I don't think Arizona can stop them. I really don't. And I think the fact that it's indoors only helps them. Like, they don't have to worry about weather or heat. Like, it's just, the Chiefs are just going to spread them out and throw the ball constantly. And unless the Chiefs beat themselves with turnovers and penalties, I just don't think they're going to be stopped. I would not be surprised if the Chiefs scored 40-plus points in the game. I don't think they will. I'm not predicting they will. But I think they're going to be in the mid-30s. Like, I think they're going to score a ton of points in the game.
I think there's a prop too, by the way, that you can choose the Chiefs to have the most points in week one. And I think you can get that at like maybe 5-1 or 6-1. I saw that somewhere earlier on, but if you're of the belief, like Verderame is, that they could put up 40 against Arizona on the road.
Maybe the over. The over is a damn good bet, I think, based off.
Yeah. Although it depends on whether or not you think, if Arizona's, getting their asses kicked, if they're going to put up any sort of a fight. Like, maybe they go ahead and score a garbage time touchdown. But if you can envision a situation where it's 35-17, that's an underhit at 53.5. So maybe you look to the Chiefs team total instead. If you just think that they're going to blow the doors off Arizona, that could be another opportunity to go in that game. Trying to find sort of where it could be for Kansas City. I don't think they've posted anything specific as of yet for a team total in this game, but it will certainly be available by the time Sunday rolls around. I don't mind that play. I don't mind the ability of taking the Chiefs to cover. I would probably still lean Arizona. It just feels like a lot of points. Home dogs in week one tend to be very successful in covering against the spread. I think one other way that you can go is, if this game gets 2-6 at your sports book, you use it in a teaser with the Baltimore Ravens. Move the line basically to a pick 'em.
Yeah.
Ravens right now are -6.5 on the road against the Jets. They basically just have to win by 1, and you're set. Kansas City, you can do the same exact thing. Even if the game ends in a tie, if it's 5.5, your bet ends up being okay, which hopefully for any Chiefs fan, it's not going to happen. But that's one way you can go. I really do like the first quarter over, though. These teams score. They score at will. Both of these defenses are going to be really tested early on. First quarter over 10.5, probably my best bet for this week one matchup between the Chiefs and the Cardinals.
Fair enough. I'm excited for it. I can't wait. And I'm excited that football's back tonight with the Bills and the Rams. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, should be good. Definitely check out. I know you're going to be back on Arrowhead Addict a little bit later on today. Us over at BetSided, we're going to have another live stream for the daily bet slip at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central today. And then Sunday will be you and I believe Sterling and Ian McMillan are going to be getting you ready for game time on that podcast as well. So there's a ton of goodies. Leading up to the start of week one. Cannot wait. I think that might be the perfect way, with Verderame's hand over his mouth in just complete shock that once again the internet goes down. Thank you guys for watching. Second time being a part of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. Love being able to come on, do these shows with you guys on Thursday. Verderame is back. I just said goodbye. You want to tell the people anything on your way out?
I'm heading to Xfinity in about 30 seconds.
All right. You should live stream it.
I just screaming at whoever I walk in and see. Like the first person I see is just going to get a massive earful. So, yeah. And then I'll apologize because I'll feel bad like 5 minutes later because it's not their fault. Yeah. I'll apologize profusely because I'm really not a bad guy, but I am going to go berserk. Like it's go with it.
I wonder if you. I almost wonder if the play here for you is to keep it low, build it up to the point where you get something for free out of it. That's the perfect way to end it. Verderame, I hope your internet gets fixed. As Jeremy says, Godspeed Xfinity. They're going to be in some deep shit by the time Verderame rolls into there. Thank you guys for watching. Please check us out over at BetSided as well. We'll be back with you guys on Sunday when Verderame, Ian McMillan, and Sterling Holmes all get together. Then, of course, make sure you guys check out Daily Bet Slip a little bit later on today as well. I'm getting a call. I got to go do radio in St. Louis. So I will talk to you all very soon. Be good.